wrongful DJ Flame is messed up that they will go to the lengths that they go to stop me from being in business. And that's in it from Pimper Doc, the clothing line. Started like 91, right? Most definitely, it was after D-Mac, Corey, and Slimzo named the older partner of ours, Pimper Doc. They named him that because every time he'll come through the cut in the area, that's what he'd been saying real loud, stomping. He used to wear some most tight Stonewall jeans, probably had some hard shoes, some nice shoes on with him, right, and the shirt. And that's what he'll say coming through. And one time I happened to be over there with them. I didn't really know the guy like that. I met him through them. And D-Mac said, they go Pimper Doc. They laughing and stuff. And before you know it, you hear him saying it, Pimper Doc. Pimper Doc, he coming through, right? One of them A-Town Macs. I think it was from A-Town. So right then, I was already familiar with the term, the saying, through Kavanaugh Slim, Robert Beck, who most people know as Iceberg Slim, from reading a few of his books. And more than, from what I can remember, I think I heard that, I read it in the book before I even heard Too Short say it on one of his records. Any person said in real life, because we grew up around the ism, Auburn Avenue, Ashby Street, 79, 18, Biscayne Boulevard, you name it, the beach. It was amongst us. We knew about it. We ride and cruise and watch the work down when it's down out there getting that money, getting that trap money, right? But it's a lot of things, me personally, I hadn't heard from an actual PI. Most of the game I saw from the end of the work, and of course the customer, the client. You can easily see that, and the work down. But I never was up under any PIs that were like spitting ism and chopping it up and roasting and toasting. A few times I passed through with some talk, but that was really a dice game. The one I can remember that stuck in my head, that was actually a dice game. My stepfather and I went into, we had a movie theater like in Aventura, no, that's out here, Avondale. It was a theater out there. And we went in the bathroom. There was one guy I remember the most in all red. He had a suit on, like a 3-piece suit with a hat, with a derby and all that, in all red. And he talking slick, shooting dice. They shooting crap in the bathroom. So, my parents and my older siblings, who I ran with most of my earlier years, and even when I started calling myself running alone, most of the people I met through an older brother or older sister, really and truly, or somebody we might have, because my parent lived in that certain block, in that area, is because I met some other people. And that was it. I didn't venture out too far away from my family. I knew I had backbone. I had real backbone. I'm born in the Nation of Islam. I know what type of crazy world we in. I know the type of people, I know the type of things people are falling victim to. And my parents wouldn't allow me to carry a gun, things like that. It seemed like every time I got a weapon on me, I had some nunchucks. I forgot where I got them from. But I had the nunchucks. I used to carry them a certain way. And I concealed them like a concealed weapon. And soon after that, I stepped out right in front of the house, 53rd Street, 5th Ave Northwest. City Miami police car pulled up. And he came straight to me. Pat me down, and he took my nunchuck. My daddy was right in the house, was mad as hell. I had a boy knife, what we used to call a Rambo knife. Named after Sylvester Stallone, right? Me, Nigel Scott Block, God bless the dead. That's when they had that Volkswagen, we call it Volkswagen? Volkswagen Rabbit Club. Used to have a lot of rabbit clubs in Decatur in Atlanta. Nigel Scott was in that club. And he had 2 females. And me and G2, Gary Evans, was with him. and the Cobb County Police pulled up. And I'm the first one he came to. Searched me, found the boy knife, took that, told me I don't need that. On that same block, something happened to me. Well, that same weapon he told me I didn't need, I needed it then. Mind you, this after the Atlanta child murders. I'm a little older now. I'm about 14 now. I'm b-boying now. I'm about 13, 14 now. So he took that weapon. And things have happened to me. I don't know why. But the police, every time they interact with me, not only will they take a weapon, they'll tell me I don't need one. When he's sitting with one in the holster right there, probably one in the head. You know, my father told me the same thing, but he went to the military. Of all things, had a bazooka. They called it Bazooka Joe. But for some reason, they feel like I must be magic or something, got some force field around me, something like that. But I had bullets come in my body. I've been shot before, you know. So I don't know, you know, what they got going on. So leading on to why what we was talking about anyway, I'm telling Divine Minister Khufu, Terry Carton Bey, I'm one person who, you know, I need to go in adjudication because these things are on my record. I know and understand how they say you don't really have to talk to them. They are not really authorized. They don't have a delegation of authority to even detain you and speak to you and approach you. But with that type of information in their database, I don't want to deal with a situation where they're dealing with me because of what's on a piece of paper. And with that type of thing in the database, no matter what I say, they're going to have a prejudice towards me because of what the corrupt magistrates and the corrupt Inquisitionist Agents of Rome have placed on the record, for the record, the false statements, the libel, and the tricked up kangaroo courtroom episodes. And to say Omali Yeshitela of Uhuru Movement, that same weekend, it's the beginning of June, the first 2 weeks of June, first 1.5 week of June had to be around the time when this happened. They raided him and his wife and all that. You can see that some of that on YouTube now. I think it's still up there. They had him sitting outside on the ground with zip ties or handcuffs or something on, with no real probable cause, nothing wrong, they did nothing wrong, but they just, that same week, when they attacked Omali Yeshitela and his wife, they got Divine Minister Khufu, Terry Carton Bey, after he clearly communicated to them from where he was. I don't remember where he was, but he was traveling through Carrollton, Georgia, when they stopped him and they arrested him. He was on his way. They made a special trip just to come down here and deal with the 11th Judicial Circuit Court about those charges and whatnot. And they locked him up. And they held him for quite some time. And at the same time, they got him first. Because remember, his wife told me on the phone that they had to let him go by June 1st. No matter what, you know, it was some back and forth about this and that issue, but they said by June 1st, they had to let him go. So this had to be in April or May when they got him. They tried me, like I described, the incident I had to go to the Internal Affairs about in June. And I was subsequently Baker acted after he tried to have his fellow officers shoot me, faking like he was in distress by his body movements, his facial expression, his body language said, you know, like I say, I was drawing a weapon when all I was doing was getting my twit card in Port of Miami ID. Luckily for me, none of the officers jumped out the car. A lot of them was in cars. Some of them was standing outside on foot though. Nobody unholstered a firearm. No one came out the car and drew a bead on me. And still, he said something to them because he was the only one talking to me. He's the only one talking to me. First, when he said something to me, he asked if I mind if he searched the U-Haul van. I said, go ahead. And then him and a couple of them began searching the van. I'm sitting down at Checkers, right? Biscayne, around about 15th, 16th Street, going into downtown Miami. They Baker acted me. I was gone for X amount of days, 5 days or something like that. I come back, the landlord at my apartment had cleared my apartment out. Mind you, it's not an eviction. Eviction is a process. First, they got to post the eviction notice, number one. But the landlord knew that I was slow in moving out because first they had me in limbo waiting for them to come assess the damage that was done to the old raggedy building because they were neglectful in keeping up the roofing and all this kind of stuff. So the ceiling caved in. It could have killed me or injured me greatly if I were there sleeping that night, if I was there when it happened, or morning, afternoon, whenever it happened. I wasn't there. I came after. I was there shortly before, and I came not too long after because I was coming and going because it was already a leak issue that they refused to address in a timely fashion. Mind you, this COVID-19 epidemic. And not only COVID, that water looked like sewage water, and it wasn't coming from my toilet. So that's a neighbor's unit, somebody else's sewage water. That any kind of airborne illnesses could be in that. It had a brown tint to it, and even some brown-like stuff even floating in it, right? So they cleaned my apartment out. I mean, clean. I know for a fact somebody took my keys and went into my storage because things were moved around and things were missing that I never saw ever again. Right? The keys to the storage were in my pocket when they Baker acted me. So they had all capability to go in the apartment on 825 Northwest 70th Street. And of course, the landlord did that. I know it had to be them working in tandem with somebody because they changed all 4 locks. They put a brand new refrigerator and it looked like a brand new stove was in there too. And they changed the 2 locks on the burglar bars and the 2 locks on the door. I don't think burglars do that, right? So that was not an eviction notice. You have X amount of time. You go in Florida state statute is explicitly states how much time, the grace period. My lease wasn't up until like June the 1st, late May or the 1st of June. And like I say, the only reason I wasn't out sooner is because of that debris from the ceiling, not to mention that filth that could be in the atmosphere from that water that leaked out. I had to wipe down everything that stuff was on. It was like sandy rocks and all this kind of stuff. I had to take like Fabuloso and warm water, stuff like that. I couldn't just pack like you would normally do. I had to wipe things down, clean them off, because nothing was going to leave out of there into my new environment with germs and all that on it. So that slowed me down. Not to mention the fact I was waiting for them since it first happened, early January. Yeah, January of 2022. So you're talking 6 months. I'm paying a lease that actually went up. They actually increased the rent. Prior to all that facade I got on Facebook that they did, they put a facade, a little paint, did the driveway, they did the asphalt and painted the yellow line, they did stuff like that. But that shell is the same shell. Roach infested, rat infested, crime-ridden hole in the wall. Now, that time period they went after Omali Yeshitela, it's a lot like King Alfred playing Rex 84, right? Exercise 1984, 1982. That's what Rex 84 stands for. And you go look that up. They claim King Alfred plan is conspiracy theory. But Rex 84 is that's government document. That's government that's not classified, but that's government. I think it used to be classified, but some of it leaked out, and they won't deny the fact that it is theirs, right? And it really lines up with the King Alfred plan. So either way, right? Water under the bridge, water over the dam, same thing. Tomatoes. Now, Omali Yeshitela, they had just got Divine Minister Khufu, and now this fool on Biscayne tried to first have me killed at the hands of the police. Right? And I find it strange that same day, I don't know if it's because of the alignment of the planets or what, or if it's really some type of operations against me. There was a lot of things I haven't even spoken about online at all that was happening around this time. And it was going on for a while. And what I needed to do was just keep myself and keep my composure. Hurricane Ian came to punctuate what, September? This September is the 9th month. September, Hurricane Ian came. And I couldn't have said it better than Hurricane Ian came. I couldn't have did to all these people who were being antagonistic toward me by this time, 9 months in 2022, I couldn't have possibly reached all these people in my dreams. But Hurricane Ian, the interesting thing I found about Hurricane Ian was that these local people were making moves against me. These not just no any people, these people with positions of power. This was not street thugs we talking about. And it's funny, I find it ironic that I didn't have a street beef at all. Matter of fact, over the last 3 years, everybody was somebody with a job, somebody go to school, somebody with a degree, this and that, what we call squares. And in Miami, lately online, OG Gigavelli, me and a whole lot of other people, we got online little platforms and whatnot, whatever we communicate. You know, a lot of people tend to talk about the Isaac Hicks case. And I just did something recently, kind of like a little short video on IG with little pictures, a little music. But we've been talking about that case ever since the case hit the papers and hit the streets and word on the street, because it's very significant about our community, which was largely Bahamian, but not only strictly Bahamian, but largely Bahamian community in Miami. Because when they did that to Ike, they also did something to the community at the same time. The same way the next decade, exactly 10 years later, when they did the case number 00426A, Corey Smith, who just gave back 2 death sentences, now he has 2 life. Booby, of the Booby Boys fame. If you Google Booby, Kenneth Williams, Booby Boys, right? Real close to the rapper Rick Ross. And then you had the other thing, Rah Rah and all of them. Now that was the main thing they put in the paper right on the heels of Operation Green Palm, where they went after some politicians and some people at the Port of Miami, stevedores at the Port of Miami. Soon after that case came them putting warrants out for the arrest of the Booby Boys, the John Doe Boys, and Blase Squaze. And they made a big deal about that. But at the same time, they came down on the whole so-called Black American community. Everything that's the culture of Miami, they attacked. The DJ culture, Miami style bass wars, DJ with the big speakers stacked on top of each other. When they turn them up loud, it vibrate the concrete, it vibrate the asphalt. We had parties with that. You name it, we had a party, a baby shower, bachelorette, whatever. That's our culture. That's Miami culture. That's so-called Black Miami culture. They attacked that. They even made it illegal to do just that. They made it illegal to sit on a milk crate. The milk crate is what we hold the records in, the DJ. He have a truck full of milk crates that got phonograph records in them. 33 RPM. I mean, it's like everything that was black culture, but meantime, right, while they smearing the reputation of the average Joe, that so-called black American, you got Biscayne Bay and the beaches lined up with banks and whatnot. People don't even speak English. You got to speak Spanish to work there. If you don't speak Spanish, you probably don't even want to account there. You have to wait about 20 minutes for them to come in with a translator, and they just now bring it down Jalisco and Chapo for the 15th time. And just now putting Los Zeta, some of the stuff a lot of people ain't even heard of. They knew about that shit the whole entire time. So now, when they took Isaac Hicks had about 32 properties. Word says the state tried to cut a deal so he can get less time. They said, give us half, which was roughly about 16. We let you keep the other 16. Ike said, hell no, I take it to the door, which means he will fight as not guilty. Because they had like conspiracy charges and some charge that wasn't all that big time anyway. They just kind of fluffed it up to make it bigger than what it was. He felt like he had a fighting chance. He said, well, hell, but I ain't giving you my shit. You see what he did? He died in jail. That was 87. You got 97, 2007, 2017. We're about to be in 2027. Player. So who you think owned, Isaac Hicks owned beachfront property? He built some of that shit too. That's another thing. When they came against him that way, they took other measures. I don't have enough time in these little 20-minute segments to say a lot of stuff because I'm really not even talking about this. I'm just using these situations to show you how real this shit is when I say the attacks are real. Now, Don Diva magazine lists how rich he actually was with that which was actually could be traced to his name, his companies and all of that. He had a construction company. Now, you look around X amount of years on construction sites, most of them Hispanic, right? Who you think got all that real estate? Because this is Hispanic, most of Hispanics work at Blue Door Manor. Every time I call, sound like Spanish their first language. They can barely speak English, right? Sometimes they answer with a Spanish. Hola, okay. Now, who been buying up all this property in Florida while everybody else in jail? See, all the Spanish-speaking people who ain't with the bullshit, they in jail. So are the niggas and the Haitians, everybody else. Who buying up all this property with dirty Jalisco and all that dope money? So God came, just like Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when the black man and woman and child of North America cannot defend themselves, you will see earthquake, hurricane, and whatnot. Natural disasters will come. Naples, Fort Myers. If you're familiar with South Beach, just imagine Ocean Drive, Collins, Washington, up to Alton, damn near. Definitely like Meridian, something else covered in water. You can't even see a tree. You can't see a rooftop. That's what happened in Naples, in Fort Myers, in September 2022, Hurricane Ian. I'm signing off once again. Still talking about this active Moors, more active.